Namaste. Okay, The Art of War, Chapter 11, in English and Korean. Yes. Okay, here we go. Namaste. The 9 situations. Sun Tzu said, "The art of war recognizes 9 varieties of ground: dispersive ground, pacific ground, contentious ground, open ground, ground of intersecting highways, serious ground, difficult ground, hemmed-in ground, desperate ground. When a chieftain is fighting in his own territory, it is dispersive ground. When he has penetrated into hostile territory, but to no great distance, it is facile ground. Ground the possession of which imports great advantage to either side is contentious ground. Ground on which each side has liberty of movement is open ground. Ground which forms the key to 3 contiguous states, so that he who occupies it first has most of the empire at his command, is ground of intersecting highways. When an army has penetrated into the heart of a hostile country, leaving a number of fortified cities in its rear, it is serious ground. Mountain forests, rugged steeps, marshes and fens all country that is hard to traverse, that is difficult ground. Ground which is reached through narrow gorges and from which we can only retire by tortuous paths, so that a small number of the enemy would suffice to crush a large body of our men, this is hemmed-in ground. Ground on which we can only be saved from destruction by fighting without delay is desperate ground. On dispersive ground, therefore, fight not. On facile ground, halt not. On contentious ground, attack not. On open ground, do not try to block the enemy's way. On ground of intersecting highways, join hands with your allies. On serious ground, gather in plunder. On difficult ground, keep steadily on the march. On hemmed-in ground, resort to stratagem. On desperate ground, fight. Those who were called skillful leaders of old knew how to drive a wedge between the enemy's front and rear. To prevent cooperation between his large and small divisions, to hinder the good troops from rescuing the bad, the officers from rallying their men. When the enemy's men were scattered, they prevented them from concentrating. Even when their forces were united, they managed to keep them in disorder. When it was to their advantage, they made a forward move. When otherwise, they stopped still. If asked how to cope with a great host of the enemy in orderly array and on the point of marching to the attack, I should say, begin by seizing something which your opponent holds dear. Then he will be amenable to your will. Rapidity is the essence of war. Take advantage of the enemy's unreadiness, make your way by unexpected routes, and attack unguarded spots. The following are the principles to be observed by an invading force. The further you penetrate into a country, the greater will be the solidarity of your troops, and thus the defenders will not prevail against you. Make forays in fertile country in order to supply your army with food. Carefully study the well-being of your men, and do not overtax them. Concentrate your energy and hoard your strength. Keep your army continually on the move and devise unfathomable plans. Throw your soldiers into positions whence there is no escape, and they will prefer death to flight. If they will face death, there is nothing they may not achieve. Officers and men alike will put forth their uttermost strength. Soldiers, when desperate straits, lose the sense of fear. If there is no place of refuge, they will stand firm. If they are in the heart of a hostile country, they will show a stubborn front. If there is no help for it, they will fight hard. Thus, without waiting to be marshaled, the soldiers will be constantly on qui vive. Without waiting to be asked, they will do your will. Without restrictions, they will be faithful. Without giving orders, they can be trusted. Prohibit the taking of omens and do away with superstitious doubts. Then, until death itself comes, no calamity need be feared. If our soldiers are not overburdened with money, it is not because they have a distaste for riches. If their lives are not unduly long, it is not because they are disinclined to longevity. On the day they are ordered out to battle, your soldiers may weep, those sitting up bedewing their garments, and those lying down letting the tears run down their cheeks. But let them once be brought to bay, and they will display the courage of a true or a kuei. The skillful tactician may be likened to a shuai-jan. Now the shuai-jan is a snake that is found in the Chang Mountains. Strike at its head and you will be attacked by its tail. Strike at its tail and you will be attacked by its head. Strike at its middle and you'll be attacked by head and tail both. Asked if an army can be made to imitate the shuai-jan, I should answer yes, for the men of Wu and the men of Yue are enemies. Yet if they are crossing a river in the same boat and are caught by a storm, they will come to each other's assistance, just as the left hand helps the right. Hence it is not enough to put one's trust in the tethering of horses and the bearing of chariot wheels in the ground. The principles on which to manage an army is to set up one standard of courage which all must reach. How to make the best of both strong and weak, that is a question involving the proper use of ground. Thus the skillful general conducts his army just as though he were leading a single man willy-nilly by the hand. It is the business of a general to be quiet and thus ensure secrecy, upright and just and thus maintain order. He must be able to mystify his officers and men by false reports and appearance, and thus keep them in total ignorance. By altering his arrangements and changing his plans, he keeps the enemy without definite knowledge. By shifting his camp and taking circuitous routes, he prevents the enemy from anticipating his purpose. At the critical moment, the leader of an army acts like one who has climbed up a height and then kicks away the ladder behind him. He carries his men deep into hostile territory before he shows his hand. He burns his boats and breaks his cooking pots like a shepherd driving a flock of sheep. He drives his men this way and that, and none knows whither he is going. To muster his host and bring it into danger, this may be termed the business of the general. The different measures suited to the 9 varieties of ground, the expediency of aggressive or defensive tactics, and the fundamental laws of human nature, these are things that must most certainly be studied. When invading hostile territory, the general principle is that penetrating deeply brings cohesion, penetrating but a short way means dispersion. When you leave your own country behind and take your army across neighboring territory, you find yourself on critical ground. When there are means of communication on all 4 sides, the ground is one of intersecting highways. When you penetrate deeply into a country, it is serious ground. When you penetrate but a little way, it is facile ground. When you have the enemy's strongholds on your rear and narrow passes in front, it is hemmed-in ground. When there is no place of refuge at all, it is desperate ground. Therefore, on dispersive ground, I would inspire my men with unity of purpose. On facile ground, I will see that there is close connection between all parts of my army. On contentious ground, I would hurry up my rear. On open ground, I would keep a vigilant eye on my defenses. On ground of intersecting highways, I would consolidate my alliances. On a serious ground, I would try to ensure a continuous stream of supplies. On difficult ground, I would keep pushing on along the road. On hemmed-in ground, I will block any way of retreat. On desperate ground, I will proclaim to my soldiers the hopelessness of saving their lives. For it is the soldier's disposition to offer an obstinate resistance when surrounded, to fight hard when he cannot help himself, and to obey promptly when he has fallen into danger. We cannot enter into alliance with neighboring princes until we are acquainted with their designs. We are not fit to lead an army on the march unless we are familiar with the face of the country, its mountains and forests, its pitfalls and precipices, its marshes and swamps. We shall be unable to turn natural advantages to account unless we make use of local guides. To be ignorant of any one of the following 4 or 5 principles does not befit a warlike prince. When a warlike prince attacks a powerful state, his generalship shows itself in preventing the concentration of the enemy's forces. He overawes his opponents and their allies are prevented from joining against him. Hence, he does not strive to ally himself with all and sundry, nor does he foster the power of other states. He carries out his own secret designs, keeping his antagonists in awe. Thus he is able to capture their cities and overthrow their kingdoms. Bestow rewards without regard to rule, issue orders without regard to previous arrangements, and you will be able to handle a whole army as though you had to do with but a single man. Confront your soldiers with the deed itself. Never let them know your design. When the outlook is bright, bring it before their eyes, but tell them nothing when the situation is gloomy. Place your army in deadly peril, and it will survive. Plunge it into desperate straits, and it will come off in safety. For it is precisely when a force has fallen into the harm's way, when a force has fallen into harm's way that it is capable of striking a blow for victory. Success in warfare is gained by carefully accommodating ourselves to the enemy's purpose. By persistently hanging on to the enemy's flank, we shall succeed in the long run in killing the commander-in-chief. This is called ability to accomplish a thing by sheer cunning. On the day that you take up your command, block the frontier passes, destroy the official tallies, and stop the passage of all emissaries, either to or from the enemy's country. Be stern in the council chamber, so that you may control the situation. If the enemy leaves the door open, you must rush in. Forestall your opponent by seizing what he holds dear, and subtly contrive to time his arrival on the ground. Walk in the path defined by rule and accommodate yourself to the enemy until you can fight a decisive battle. At first then exhibit the coyness of a maiden until the enemy gives you an opening. Afterwards, emulate the rapidity of a running hare, and it will be too late for the enemy to oppose you. I'm being distracted. Funny, I'm reading The Art of War. I'm learning, I'm reading about how to fight demons. Okay, Korean next. Chapter 11. Alright, so this is in Korean. 굳이. 용병의 원칙에서는 산지가 있고 경지가 있으며 갱지가 있고 교지가 있으며 구지역가 있고 구지가 있고 중지가 있으며 비지가 있고 위지가 있으며 사지가 있다. 제후가 자신의 땅에서 적과 전쟁하는 곳을 산지라고 한다. 적의 땅에 들어갔으나 깊지 않은 곳을 경지라고 한다. 아군이 점거해도 유리하고 적군이 점거해도 유리한 곳을 쟁지라고 한다. 아군이 갈 수 있고 적군도 올 수 있는 곳을 교지라고 한다. 제후국의 땅이 새 나라와 국경을 접하고 있으며 먼저 이르는 쪽이 천하의 백성을 얻을 수 있는 곳을 구지라고 한다. 적의 영토 깊숙이 들어가서 많은 성과 읍을 등지고 있는 곳을 중지라고 한다. 산림, 점준, 험준한 곳, 늪지 등이 있어 행군하지 어려운 곳을 비지라고 한다. 진입하는 길은 좁고 돌아 나오는 길은 멀어 소수 병력의 적군이 다수 병력의 아군을 공격할 수 있는 곳을 무지라고 한다. 빨리 싸우면 생존할 수 있으나 빨리 싸우지 못하면 멸망하는 곳을 사지라고 한다. 이 때문에 산지에서는 전쟁을 벌여서는 안 되고 경지에서는 멈추어서는 안 되며 쟁지에서는 주동적으로 공격하지 말아야 하고 교지에서는 부대의 앞뒤가 끊어져서는 안 되며 구지에서는 널리 외교 관계를 맺어야 하고 중지에서는 사방으로 약탈해야 하며 비지에서는 신속하게 통과해야 하고 위지에서는 모책을 써야 하며 사지에서는 죽기를 가호하고 싸워야 한다. 이른바 옛날의 용벽을 잘하는 장수는 적으로 하여금 적의 정방과 후방이 서로 따르지 못하게 하고 대부대가 소부대가 서로 이지하지 못하게 하며 신분이 귀한 자와 낮은 자가 서로 구원하지 못하게 하고 상급자와 하급자가 서로 마음으로 돕지 못하게 하며 사졸들이 흩어지면 몽리 수 없게 하고 병사들이 모여도 결집하지 못하게 하였다. 이익에 부합되면 행동하고 이익에 부합되지 않으면 멈추었다. 감히 붙건대 정군이 정비된 대군으로 장차 공격해온다면 어떻게 대처할 것인가 대답하기를 이들이 소중히 여기는 곳을 먼저 탈환하면 그들은 중종하게 될 것이다 라고 할 것이다. 용병의 정세 파악을 신속함을 위주로 하여야 한다. 적이 나의 속도에 미치지 못하는 틈을 이용해 적이 미처 생각하지 못한 길을 거쳐 경계하지 않은 곳을 공격하는 것이다. 무릇객의 입장으로 용벽하는 길은 적진 깊숙이 침투해야 전쟁에만 전념함으로 적이 이길 수 없다. 그들의 기름진 들판에서 약탈하면 삼군이 충분히 먹을 수 있고 삼과 병사들은 잘 먹이고 피로하지 않게 하며 사지를 높이고 힘을 축적하며 병사들을 다루고 묘책을 헤아리면 적이 예측할 수 없다. 갈 곳 없는 곳으로 투집하면 죽는 한이 있어도 달아나지 않는다. 죽음도 불사하지 않는데 어찌 병사들이 온 짐을 다하지 않겠는가. 병사들은 깊은 함정에 빠지면 오히려 두려워하지 않으며 달아날 길이 없게 되면 굳세어지니 전직 깊숙이 들어가면 군심이 결집되어 부득이 싸울 수밖에 없다. 이 때문에 그런 군대는 훈련하지 않아도 경제심을 갖게 되고 요구하지 않아도 알아서 하며 약속하지 않아도 대부가 친하게 되고 명령을 내리지 않아도 믿게 된다. 이 신을 금하고 미스런 생각을 없애면 죽음에 이르러도 도망가려고 하지 않는다. 우리 병사들이 넉넉한 재물이 없다고 생각하는 재물을 싫어해서가 아니다. 남은 목숨이 없다고 생각하는 것은 장수하는 것이 싫어서가 아니다. 명령이 내려지는 잘 병사들 중에 앉아 있는 자는 눈물로 옷깃을 적시고 누워 있는 자는 눈물의 턱으로 엇갈려 흐른다. 그들이 갈 곳이 없는 곳에 투입하면 모두 전제와 조기의 용기를 보여준다. 그러므로 용병을 잘하는 자는 마치 솔련처럼 부대를 지휘한다. 솔련은 상산에 산다는 뱀으로 머리를 치면 꼬리가 달려들고 그 꼬리를 치면 머리가 달려들며 그 허리를 치며 머리가 꼬리가 함께 달려든다. 감히 군대를 솔련처럼 부릴 수 있는가? 라고 물으면 가능하다라고 답한다. 무릇 오 나라 사람과 월 나라 사람은 서로 미워하는데 그들은 한 배를 타고 강을 건너다가 바람을 만났을 때에는 서로 구하려고 하치 앞몸에 붙은 왼손과 오른손처럼 하는 것과 같다. 군대를 지휘하는 일은 고요하고 드러내지 않으며 엄정하고 조리가 없어야 한다. 병사들의 군과 귀를 어리석게 만들어 그들로 하여금 장군의 잔적 이도를 알아차리지 못하게 하고 그 쾌획을 바꾸고 그 계약을 계략을 변경함 있어 병사들로 하여금 인식하지 못하게 하며 주둔지를 바꾸고 그 행군로를 우회하여 병사를 생각에 미치지 못하게 한다. 장수가 병사들과 함께 결전을 벌이고자 하다며 마치 높은 곳에 올라가 그 사다리를 치워버리는 것처럼 한다. 장수가 병사들과 제후의 땅에 깊이 들어가는 것은 마치 새뇌를 격발하는 것처럼 하고 배를 불사들고 솔단지를 깨뜨려 버려 물이 지은 앙을 보고 가듯 저쪽으로 몰아갔다가 이쪽으로 몰면 아무도 그 방향을 알지 못하게 하여야 한다. 3군의 무리를 모하여 그들의 험준한 지역에 투입시키니 그것이 장군의 일을 일컫을 것이다. 9가지 지형의 변화에 따라 군대를 물러났다가 진격시켰다가 하는 이로움과 병사들의 정서의 이치에 대해서 살피지 않으면 안 된다. 무릇 객과 대어 전쟁을 하는 이치는 다음과 같다. 적국에 깊숙이 들어가면 병사들이 전념하지만 얕게 들어가면 흘러진다. 자기 나라를 떠나 국경을 넘어 군대를 움직이는 것을 결지라고 한다. 사방으로 통하는 곳을 구지라고 한다. 적지 깊숙이 들어간 곳을 중지라고 한다. 적지에 앞게 들어간 곳을 경지라고 한다. 뒤에 경고하고 앞이 좁은 곳을 위지라고 한다. 갈 곳이 없는 곳을 사지라고 한다. 그래서 산지라면 나는 장차 병사들의 뜻을 단결시키고, 정지라면 나는 장차 병사들로 하여금 결속하게 하며, 쟁지라면 나는 장차 적의 부항으로 달려나갈 것이고, 교지라면 나는 장차 그 지키는 것을 삼가게 할 것이며, 구지라면 나는 장차 제후들과의 결속을 굳게 할 것이고, 중지하면 나는 장차 그 군대의 식량을 계속 공급할 것이며, 비지라면 나는 장차 그들을 나아가게 할 것이고, 위지라면 장차 트인 곳을 막도록 할 것이며, 사지라면 나는 장차 그들에게 살아남을 수 없다는 것을 보여줄 것이다. 따라서 병사들의 정서한 포위당하면 스스로를 방어하게 되며 어쩔 수 없으면 싸우게 되니 지나치게 위급하면 명령에 따르게 된다. 이 때문에 제후들의 계책을 알지 못하는 자는 미리 외교를 펼칠 수 없으며 산림, 험준한 지역, 즉 늑지대 등과 같은 지형을 알지 못하면 행궁할 수 없다. 향도를 활용하지 않는 자는 지형의 이로움을 얻을 수 없다. 이 넷 다섯 가지 중 하나라도 알지 못하면 패왕의 군대가 될 자격이 없다. 무릇 패왕의 군대가 강대국을 절병하면 그 적국의 무리들은 모여서 대항할 겨를도 얻지 못하고 위세가 적에게 가해져 적이 외교력이 연납할 겨를을 얻지 못한다. 이 때문에 천하 제후들과의 외교를 다투지 않고 전하의 권력을 장악하려고 하지 않으며 자신의 소신한 별처적에서 위세를 가하면 그 성을 함락시킬 수 있고 그 나라를 무너뜨릴 수 있다. 병력에도 없는 상을 내리고 궁정에도 없는 명령을 내리면 삼군을 마치 한 사람 부리듯 할 수 있다. 그들을 통제함에 있어 일로서 하고 말로서 말해주지 않는다. 그들을
통제함에 있어 이익으로서 하지 해로움으로서 말해주지 않는다. 그들을 말할 땅에 집어넣은 이후에 생존하게 되고 그들을 죽을 땅에 빠지게 한 이후에 살아나게 된다. 무릇 군중의 해로움에 빠진 전후에 능히 승패를 결정지을 수 있다. 그러므로 전쟁에서 중요한 일은 적의 의도를 상세히 파악하는 데 있다. 적과 한병할으로 이동하다가 천리박의 장수도 죽일 수 있다. 이를 일컬에 교묘하게 이를 성사시킬 수 있는 자라고 한다. 그러므로 절전이 임박한 날은 관문을 송배하고 부절을 꺾어버려 그 사신을 왕래하지 못하게 한다. 조징의 선은 대신들이 모여 의논해 적국에서 전쟁을 책임을 묻을 때 힘쓴다. 적군이 성문을 여다를 때 반드시 빠르게 그곳으로 진입한다. 적이 수중히 여기는 곳을 먼저 공략할 틈을 은밀히 기다리면 묵묵히 적정에 따라 행동하다가 전쟁의 실패들을 결정짓는다. 그러므로 처음에는 마치 처녀처럼 조용히 움직이기 시작하지만 적군이 문을 연 뒤에면 도망가는 토끼처럼 적군이 항거할 수 없게 하여야 한다.
That's it. Thank you. Whoosh. This is what happens when stupid people bother me. They're stupid. Stupid people make me mad. Okay. New Testament next. Thank you. Stupid people. They're not smart people. Okay. Old Testament. Let's see. Chapter 37. I'm gonna take a 30-second break. Namaste. Bezalel made the ark of acacia wood, 3 3/4 feet long, 2 1/4 feet wide, and 2 1/4 feet high. He overlaid it with pure gold, inside and outside, and put a molding of gold for it around the top. He cast 4 gold rings for it, at its 4 feet, 2 rings on each side. He made poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold. He put the carrying poles for the ark and the rings on the sides of the ark. He made a cover for the ark of pure gold, 3 3/4 feet long and 2 1/4 feet wide. He made 2 cherubim of gold. He made them of hammered work for the 2 ends of the ark cover, 1 cherub for one end and 1 cherub for the other end. He made a cherubim of one piece with the ark cover at its 2 ends. The cherubim had their wings spread out above, so that their wings covered the ark. Their faces were toward each other and toward the ark cover. He made the table of acacia wood, 3 feet long, 18 inches wide, and 18 inches high. He overlaid it with pure gold and put a molding of gold around the top of it. He made around it a rim of handbreadth wide and put a molding of gold around the rim. He cast for it 4 gold rings and attached the rings to the 4 corners, near its 4 legs. The rings to hold the carrying poles for the table were placed close to the rim. He made the carrying poles for the table of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold. He made the utensils to be put on the table as dishes, pans, bowls, and pitchers of pure gold. He made the menorah of pure gold. He made it of hammered work. Its base, shaft, cups, rings of outer leaves, and flowers were a single unit. There were 6 branches extending from its sides, 3 branches of the menorah on one side of it, and 3 on the other. On one branch were 3 cups shaped like almond blossoms, a ring of outer leaves and petals. Likewise, on the opposite branch, 3 cups shaped like almond blossoms, a ring of outer leaves and petals. And similarly for all 6 branches extending from the menorah. On the central shaft of the menorah were 4 cups shaped like almond blossoms, each with its ring of outer leaves and petals. Where each pair of branches joined the central shaft was a ring of outer leaves of one piece with the pair of branches, thus for all 6 branches. Their rings of outer leaves and their branches were of one piece with the shaft. Thus the whole menorah was one piece of hammered work made of pure gold. He made its 7 lamps, its tongues, and its trays of pure gold. The menorah and its utensils were made of 66 pounds of pure gold. He made the altar on which to burn incense of acacia wood, 18 inches square and 3 feet high. Its horns were a single unit. He overlaid it with pure gold, its top all around its sides and its horns. And he put around it a molding of gold. He made 2 gold rings for it, under its molding at the 2 corners on both sides, to hold the carrying poles. He made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with gold. He made the holy anointing oil and the pure incense of aromatic plant substances as would an expert perfume maker. Maybe one more chapter. I'm not gonna, before I used to read like 5 chapters at a sitting. I'm not gonna do that. So, Art of War was really long. That took like 25 minutes or so. I'm gonna do this Old Testament for how long? Let's say, I think just one more chapter should do it, and if not, I'll do another chapter after this. But I think this is it. Chapter 38. He made the altar for burnt offerings of acacia wood, 7.5 feet long and 7.5 feet wide. It was square and 4.5 feet high. He made horns for it on its 4 corners. The horns were of one piece with it, and he overlaid it with bronze. He made all the utensils for the altar, its pots, shovels, basins, meat hooks, and fire pans. All its utensils he made of bronze. He made for the altar a grate of bronze netting under its rim, reaching halfway up the altar. He cast 4 rings for the 4 ends of the bronze grate to hold the poles. He made the poles of acacia wood and overlaid them with bronze. He put the carrying poles into the rings on the sides of the altar. He made it of planks and hollow inside. He made a basin of bronze with its base of bronze from the mirrors of the women serving at the entrance to the tent of meeting. He made a courtyard. On the south side, facing southward, the tapestries for the courtyard were made of finely woven linen, 150 feet long, supported on 20 posts in 20 bronze sockets. The hooks on the posts and the attached rings for hanging were of silver. On the north side, they were 150 feet long, hung on 20 posts in 20 bronze sockets, with the hooks on the posts and their rings of silver. On the west side were tapestries 75 feet long and hung on 10 posts in 10 sockets, with the hooks on the posts, and their rings of silver. On the east side were tapestries 75 feet long. The tapestries for the one side were 22.5 feet long, hung on 3 posts in 3 sockets. Likewise for the other side. On either side were tapestries 22.5 feet long and on 3 posts in 3 sockets. All the tapestries for the courtyard all the way around were of finely woven linen. The sockets for the posts were of bronze. The hooks on the posts and their rings were of silver. The capitals of the posts were overlaid with silver, and all the posts of the courtyard were banded with silver. The screen for the gateway to the courtyard was the work of a weaver in colors of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and finely woven linen. Its length was 30 feet and its height 7.5 feet all the way along, like the tapestries for the courtyard. It had 4 posts and 4 bronze sockets with silver hooks, capitals overlaid with silver, and silver fasteners. The 10 pegs for the tabernacle and for the courtyard around it were of bronze. These are the accounts of the tabernacle of the testimony, recorded as Moshe ordered by the Levium, under the direction of Itamar, the son of Aaron the Kohen. Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Yehuda, made everything that Yahweh ordered Moshe to make. Assisting him was Oholiab, the son of Achisamach, of the tribe of Dan, who was an engraver, a designer, and a weaver in colors, in blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and in fine linen. All the gold used for the work and everything needed for the sanctuary, the gold of the offering weighed 29 talents, 730 shekels, using the sanctuary shekel. The silver given by the community weighed 100 talents, 1,775 shekels, using the sanctuary shekel. This was a beka per person, that is half a shekel, using the sanctuary shekel for everyone 20 years old or older counted in the census, 603,550 men. The 100 talents of silver were used to cast the sockets for the sanctuary and the sockets for the curtain. 100 sockets made from the 100 talents, 1 talent per socket. The 1,775 shekels he used to make hooks for the posts, to overlay their capitals, and to make fasteners for them. The bronze in the offering came to 4,680 pounds. He used it to make the sockets for the entrance to the tent of meeting, the bronze altar, its bronze grate, all the utensils for the altar, the sockets for the courtyard around it, the sockets for the gateway to the courtyard, all the 10 pegs for the tabernacle, and all the 10 pegs for the courtyard around it. Okay, one more chapter and that's it. Yep, that's it. Chapter 39. From the blue, purple, and scarlet yarn they made the garments for officiating, preserving in the holy place. And they made the holy garments for Aaron, as Yahweh had ordered Moshe. He made the ritual vest of gold of blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and of finely woven linen. They hammered the gold into thin plates and cut them into threads in order to work it into the blue, purple, and scarlet yarn and the fine linen crafted by the skilled artisan. They made shoulder pieces for it joined together. They were joined together at the 2 ends. The decorated belt on the vest used to fasten it was of the same workmanship and materials, gold, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and finely twined linen, as Yahweh had ordered Moshe. They worked the onyx stones mounted in gold settings, engraving them with the names of the sons of Israel, as they would be engraved on a seal. Then he put them on the shoulder pieces of the vest, to be stones calling to mind the sons of Israel, as Yahweh had ordered Moshe. He made the breastplate. It was crafted by a skilled artisan and made like the work of the ritual vest of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, and finely woven linen. When folded double, the breastplate was square. Doubled, it was a handspan by a handspan. They set in it 4 rows of stone. The first row was a carnelian, a topaz, and an emerald. The second row a green feldspar, a sapphire, and a diamond. The third row an orange zircon, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row a beryl, an onyx, and a jasper. They were mounted in settings of gold. The stones corresponded to the names of the 12 sons of Israel. They were engraved with their names as a seal would be engraved, each name representing one of the 12 tribes. On the breastplate, they made 2 pure gold chains, twisted like cords. Also for the breastplate, they made 2 settings of gold and 2 gold rings, and they put the 2 rings at the 2 ends of the breastplate. They put the 2 twisted gold chains in the 2 rings at the ends of the breastplate and attached the other 2 ends of the twisted chains to the front of the shoulder pieces of the ritual vest. They also made 2 gold rings and put them on the 2 ends of the breastplate at its edge on the side facing toward the vest. Also they made 2 gold rings and attached them low on the front part of the vest's shoulder pieces near the joint above the vest's decorator's belt. Then they bound the breastplate by its rings to the rings of the vest with a blue cord so that it could be on the vest's decorated belt, and so that the breastplate would not swing loose from the vest, as Yahweh had ordered Moshe. He made the robe for the ritual vest. It was woven entirely of blue, with its opening in the middle like that of a coat of mail, and with the border around the opening so that it wouldn't tear. On the bottom hem, they made pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet, and woven linen. And they made bells of pure gold, and put the bells between the pomegranates all the way around the hem of the robe, between the pomegranates, that is, bell, pomegranate, all the way around the hem of the robe for service, as Yahweh had ordered Moshe. They made the tunics of finely woven linen for Aharon and his sons, the turban of fine linen, the splendid headgear of fine linen, the linen shorts, and the sash of finely woven linen and blue, purple, and scarlet yarn, the work of a weaver in colors, as Yahweh had ordered Moshe. They made the ornament for the holy turban of pure gold, wrote on it the words, set apart for Yahweh, like the engraving on a seal, and tied a blue cord on it to fasten it to the front of the turban, as Yahweh had ordered Moshe. Thus all the work for the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, was finished, with the people of Israel doing everything exactly as Yahweh had ordered Moshe. Then they brought the tabernacle to Moshe, the tent and all its furnishings, clasps, planks, crossbars, posts, and sockets, the covering of 10 ram skins, the covering of fine leather, and the curtain for the screen, the ark for the testimony, its posts and the ark cover, the table, all its utensils, and the showbread, the pure menorah, its lamps and their arrangement for display, its accessories, and the oil for the light, the gold altar, the anointing oil, the fragrant incense, the screen for the entrance to the tent, the bronze altar with its bronze grate, poles, and all its utensils, the basin with its base, the tapestries for the courtyard, with their posts and sockets, the screen for the entrance to the courtyard, with its ropes and tent pegs, all the utensils for the service in the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, the garments for officiating, for serving in the holy place, the holy garments for Aharon the Kohen, and the garments for his sons to serve in the office of Kohen. The people of Israel did all the work just as Yahweh had ordered Moshe. Moshe saw all the work, and there it was. They had done it, exactly as Yahweh had ordered. They had done it, and Moshe blessed them. I think that's it. That's probably... shouldn't go more than 15 minutes. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's enough. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I read three chapters. I think that's enough. Okay, so next up is Sanskrit writing. Sorry. Okay, thank you. Sanskrit handwriting coming up in 15 minutes. I want to get things done because Shabbat is approaching and I want to get rid of things. Okay, thank you. Have a good day.